In the Hindu tradition, Shiva is often called the god of destruction, and he's frequently depicted as being surrounded by a blazing ring of fire as he dances in wild abandon, while he destroys the entire universe. But to call Shiva the god of destruction is actually a misnomer. In Sanskrit, he is known as upasamhara-karta, the one who brings about an end to the current cycle of time, the end of the eon or yuga in which we live. After each cycle of creation ends, the universe remains in a state of dissolution, and it stays suspended in this unmanifest condition until it emerges again, like a sprout emerging from a tiny seed. So, when a tree dies, its existence is not totally eradicated. The tree can be said to continue to exist inside a seed in a potential or unmanifest condition. According to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, nothing can truly be destroyed or annihilated, in the sense that nothing that exists can be made utterly non-existent. The Bhagavad Gita says that which doesn't exist can never become existent, and that which truly exists can never become non-existent. In the Gita, Sri Krishna teaches this important spiritual principle to Arjuna, the mighty warrior, to dispel his dreadful fear that his beloved family members will soon die while they fight in a terrible war, giving up their worldly existence on a battlefield. This particular teaching of Sri Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita resembles a scientific principle that's known as the law of conservation. Science says that mass and energy are always conserved. That means they can never be destroyed. On the other hand, mass and energy can be transformed. They can be converted into different forms, like sunlight can be converted into electricity, and dry wood can be converted into ashes, smoke, and heat. But mass and energy are always conserved. They can never be destroyed. So, according to both scientific and spiritual principles, the universe can never be destroyed, in the sense of becoming utterly non-existent. Nor can the universe be created from sheer nothingness. Instead, the universe is said to undergo transformation. Science says that with the Big Bang, some 14 billion years ago, the universe emerged from a singularity, an infinitely small point of infinite mass and energy, like a sprout emerging from a seed. Hindu scripture says that the universe emerged from the unmanifest remains left over from the prior universe after it had undergone dissolution. By the way, that cycle of creation and dissolution is actually represented by Shiva's drum, his damaru, which he holds in his right hand. The symbolism goes like this. From our perspective, each cycle of creation lasts billions of years. But from Shiva's perspective, each cycle of creation comes and goes as quickly as the beats of his drum. According to Hindu scriptures, not only is the universe cyclic, but our lives are cyclic as well. The doctrine of karma says that each of your births is preceded by another one, so you get reborn or reincarnated again and again. But whether or not you accept this doctrine of karma and rebirth, there's one fundamental truth that cannot be denied. the truth expressed both by science and by the Bhagavad Gita, the truth that nothing can ever become utterly non-existent. Instead of destruction, everything undergoes transformation. Everything is subject to being converted from one condition into another condition, from one state of existence into another state of existence. That's true of the universe, and it's true of our lives as well. You were not born from nothing. The birth of your physical body is explained by biology, and your existence as a sentient being is explained in various ways by each of the religious and spiritual traditions in the world. At death, your body ultimately decomposes into elements, atoms like carbon, nitrogen, calcium, etc. And the energy that once enlivened all the cells in your body gets dissipated in the form of heat that gets dispersed into the environment. In this way, the matter and energy of your body are conserved. And then, from a religious perspective, your subtle body, sometimes called soul, is said to survive death. Your subtle body is that which endows you with life, mind, intellect, and sense faculties. At death, your subtle body is said to undergo some kind of travel. It might reach a heavenly realm, or it might become associated with another physical body, or it might merge with its divine source. In each of these cases, your soul continues to exist. It gets transformed into a different state. And finally, from a spiritual perspective, your death does not result in your non-existence. According to Advaita Vedanta, your essential nature is pure consciousness, the consciousness that endows your body and mind with sentiency. That consciousness is the true inner self, known as Atma, and it remains completely unaffected at the time of death. Completely unaffected? How can that be said with so much certainty? Well, consciousness itself is not a physical thing like your body, a thing that's subject to the laws of nature. Nor is consciousness a non-physical thing, like your subtle body that travels after death according to the laws of karma. Consciousness is a fundamental reality. It's eternal and unchanging. As such, consciousness transcends all worldly influences. So it's not subject to the laws of nature, nor is it subject to the laws of karma. And for these reasons, your essential nature as pure consciousness remains completely unaffected at the time of death. This is a central teaching of Advaita Vedanta. And it's not merely a matter of faith. It's a truth that's meant to be fully understood, a truth that you can personally discover through the teachings of Vedanta. Those teachings can guide you to follow in the footsteps of the great sages and saints who discovered all this long ago. An excellent example of that discovery can be seen in the life of Ramana Maharshi. Ramana was a great 20th century saint who taught Advaita Vedanta to many followers in his lifetime, and his teachings continue to inspire many more spiritual seekers today. At the age of 16, he had a remarkable death experience that led to the beginning of his own spiritual journey and changed his life forever. When asked to describe that death experience, he said, "This body is going to die," I said to myself, referring to the gross physical body. I came to the conclusion that when it was dead and rigid, I was not dead. I was, on the other hand, conscious of being alive, in existence. So the question arose in me, what was this I? That's how Ramana described the experience that eventually led him to discover his essential nature as pure consciousness, Atma, the true self. From that time onwards, he spent the rest of his life absorbed in contemplation and teaching others how to follow the Vedantic path of self-inquiry. We've discussed that path of self-inquiry in many other videos, but right now our topic is death. And one thing that's perfectly clear is that death is a kind of transformation or transition, a transition from one state of existence to another state of existence. We all undergo many transitions in our lifetimes. Death happens to be the last of them, and probably the most consequential. Usually, we celebrate the major transitions in our lives, the special days like birthdays, graduations, weddings, and anniversaries. Now, I'm not at all suggesting here that we should celebrate death in the same way, but rather I'm suggesting that we can look upon death as one of the many important milestones in our lives. Suppose an important milestone is coming up soon in your own life, like maybe your 60th birthday or your retirement from work. Before that special day arrives, you'll probably ponder the significance and consequences of reaching that milestone in your life. And that kind of contemplation can certainly contribute to your emotional and spiritual growth. In the same way, you can ponder the significance and consequences of approaching the last milestone in your life, when your worldly journey will reach the end of the road, so to speak. Many people consider that to think about death is morbid or unpleasant, or even frightening. But the fact is, we can learn and grow so much by thinking about death, as Ramana Maharshi did. When I was young, in my 20s perhaps, thinking about death actually frightened me. That fear was one of the many forces that led me to learn about various philosophies and spiritual teachings, and that inquiry eventually led me to the teachings of Advaita Vedanta. Those teachings completely removed my fear of death by showing me that my essential nature as pure consciousness could never cease to exist, as we discussed before. More recently, in my 60s, I began to think about death more often, especially after I lost my parents and my guru, Swami Dayananda, who had been my mentor for 30 years. Now that I've reached my 70s, I frequently think about my own death. It's become a kind of sadhana, a spiritual practice for me. Instead of making me feel sad or depressed, thinking about death makes me feel intensely alive. Each day seems so much more precious now, more valuable. I feel tremendous gratitude for all the blessings I've received, especially for those spiritual teachings that have so radically transformed me, and for all the wonderful people in my life. These days, I do face some health problems, like most people my age. It's become a bit more difficult now to appreciate all those blessings, and for me to continue sharing them with others through my teaching activities. But I'm highly motivated to do as much as I can. I think of the remainder of my life as a little bit of toothpaste left in a tube, and I want to squeeze out as much as possible. It's really not too hard to have this kind of positive outlook towards the end of your life if you have been consistently engaged in spiritual practice. No matter how old you are, that practice can help you grow to be even more grateful and accepting. You'll be blessed by your spiritual practice, and you'll become more of a blessing for others. That's what a great sage named Bhartrahari said 1,500 years ago. He wrote a famous work called Vairagya Shatakam, 100 verses on dispassion. In one verse, he said, "As long as your body is healthy and senility is distant, as long as your senses are strong and life has not completely ebbed away, then, if you are wise, you will certainly strive for liberation. Because when your house is on fire, what's the use of digging a well?" What a great verse. Okay, before we conclude this discussion about death, I hope you'll allow me to share some very practical advice about preparing for the end of your life. It's really important to consider how that will affect your loved ones. You certainly don't want to add to their suffering by neglecting to address a lot of mundane but highly necessary matters. For example, don't make them struggle to figure out your finances or what to do with your possessions. Tell them in advance. You can remove a lot of unnecessary stress and confusion for them if you prepare an advance medical directive. In that directive, tell your loved ones whether or not you want to be resuscitated or to receive other extreme life-saving measures when you're in the hospital. Also, please consider donating your organs. There is no actual scriptural basis in the Hindu tradition for not doing so. After all, Hindu funeral rites are called antyeshti, which literally means your final offering, the ritual of offering up your own body. There's a huge shortage of organs right now, and yours will be a tremendous blessing for others who are struggling with major health issues. Please don't let old-fashioned views and superstitions prevent you from doing this. Finally, I was once asked, "Swamiji, what last words would you want to say before dying?" I immediately thought of the last lines of Sadhana Panchakam, a short text by Adi Shankara, where he explains how to live a spiritual life. Those lines are so beautiful. Let me share them with you here. I'll leave a link to the entire text in the description below. Prakarma pravilapyatam. Reflect on your past deeds. As you do so, remember that every single one of us makes mistakes in life. We all struggle to do the best we can, and in spite of our efforts, things sometimes don't turn out the way we want. So, for anything in the past that didn't go so well, you can let go of any guilt or regrets that you might still be holding on to. Chitti Balat, with the deep understanding and unconditional acceptance that you have gained through spiritual practice, na api uttaraihi shlashyatam. Let go of any hopes or dreams that could not be fulfilled in this lifetime. After all, your true nature as pure consciousness has always been full and complete, always perfect, always divine. Therefore, you can rest in complete contentment with the assurance that nothing remains for you to be accomplished in this lifetime. Prarabdham tu iha bhujyatam. live out the remaining days of your life, the time allotted to you by your karma. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, "Death is certain for all those born, and birth is certain for all who die." He concluded that verse by telling Arjuna, "Since this is inevitable, you have no reason to mourn." With the wisdom Arjuna received from Lord Krishna, he was able to fulfill his duties and fight on the battlefield without any kind of regret or inner turmoil. In the same way, with the wisdom you have received from the Bhagavad Gita and other sacred scriptures, you can leave this life without any kind of regret or inner turmoil. Atha, and then, when you are finally freed from all the earthly limitations of your body and mind, when you are free from all pain and suffering, then para brahmatmana sthiyatam. Then you can abide in perfect peace and contentment, remaining utterly non-separate from Brahman, supreme reality, for all time. Prakarma pravilapyatam Chiti balana pyuttarai shlishyatam prarabdham tviha bhujyatam hatapara brahmatmana sthiyatam. Vishweshwara, the Lord of the world, Mahadeva, the greatest of gods, Triyambaka, whose eyes are three, Mrityunjaya, who conquers death. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. Sarveshwara, the Lord of all. Sadashiva, forever blessed. Gangadhara, the Ganga he bears. Maheshwara, almighty Lord. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. Kankara, the giver of peace. Shashwata, the everlasting. Pashupati, Lord of all creatures, Digambara, who's clothed in space. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. Lokesha, Lord of the three worlds, Anishvara, the sovereign Lord, Prajapati, Lord of all people, Jagadvyapi, pervading the world. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. Time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. Ananta, the limitless Lord. Sarvajna, all knowledge he holds. Parameshwara, supreme Lord God. Anekatma, soul of all. Time marches to the beat of Shiva.
time marches to the beat of Shiva's drum. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. His Damaru beats out the dance of time. Om Namaste Astu Bhagavan Vishweshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Nilakantaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya